rich waters, abundant natural attractions, fertile land, and industrious people. The placid and grandiose Taal Lake and the mystical volcano island are among the province's great treasures. Taal Lake offers an exciting cruise adventure, passing through the Pacific River Bird Sanctuary, climbing the volcano island on horseback to view the crater lake. Batangas is a natural playground. Take a boat ride through mangroves, view unique rock formations, and trek to mountains and waterfalls. Experience underwater escapades in Lobo, San Juan, Mabini, and Tingloy. Walk through heritage homes and 19th century churches in charming Taal, Balayan, Batangas City, Tanawan, and San Juan. A new pilgrim destination with a majestic view of the open sea, the Statue of Mary, Mother of all Asia in Monte Maria, Batangas City, is dedicated to unity and peace of all people around the world. A most popular site, Batangas is also the home of the National Shrine of Padre Pio in Santo Tomas. Further south is Lipa City, visited by pilgrims and most especially during Holy Week for Visita Iglesia, is now known as the Little Rome of the Philippines. Take an industry tour of Batangas and watch the sewing of Taal's delicate embroidery and unique craft of the balisong, Ibaan's fine hobby, San Juan's pottery, and special lambanog. A culinary tour takes you to taste Lipa's strong kapeng barako, savor Mabini's tablia, Balayan's signature bagoong, Balete's pure honey, Santo Tomas bulalo, sweet panocha, and our special fish, tawilis and maliputo, fresh catch from towns around Taal Lake. In the Batangas Bay Area, you can find industrial centers and power generation sites. Colleges and universities are located in the highly developed cities and first-class municipalities. The International Port of Batangas is the main gateway in the province from the sea and serves traveling passengers and cargo from southern Philippines. Great men, Mabini, Laurel, Recto, Jokno, Malvar, and Calao are all well known in our Philippine history as Batangueño statesmen and national heroes who fought for our country's freedom. All this makes Batangas a rich province, high-value agricultural crops, local industrial products, skilled workforce, historical towns, natural wonders, delicious heritage cuisine, and your ultimate adventure. What are you waiting for? Come visit Reach Batangas.
better future is built by the brave, envisioned by brilliant minds, born from the passions of thousands strong. One that isn't without risk, but protected from it. Safe from all the worries and secure for what's to come. Because a better future with the greatest empires, the strongest communities, and the happiest families will always be worth having. That's why the bold and the fearless understand that recreating something better takes courage and strength. So together, let's start shaping a better future today. Recreate a braver tomorrow.
Good afternoon, Governor Mandanas, mayors, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our first Livable Cities Local Lab, brought to you in partnership with the League of Cities and Globe Telecom. Local labs are patterned after our regular Livable Cities Lab series as a platform for sharing good practices, innovation, and technology for urban planning and LGU management. But this is the first time that we have branched out to create local labs to be able to focus on provinces and cities. We've assembled a great panel of speakers to underscore the importance of provinces and cities in creating a livable, sustainable, and resilient nation. And today, we will focus on Batangas province. Before we begin, let us review a few basic safety reminders for all our webinar guests. First, be aware of your surroundings while the webinar is ongoing in case you need to stop due to an emergency. Second, please always stay safe and practice social distancing if you are not in your home. Here are a few other administrative reminders. This webinar will be recorded, and a link to the recording will be sent to all of you after the sessions. Questions may be asked through the Q&A chat box. I'd like to point out that Zoom has a feature where you can vote for questions by clicking on the thumbs up icon so that the most voted ones come to the top of the priority list of questions. Some of these will be answered directly by our speaker or their staff in the chat box, while other questions may be parked for later in the open forum. At the end of this webinar, we will invite you to please fill out feedback form. Your response will help us improve our Livable Cities Local Lab series. You may also get a certificate of participation by answering the corresponding question in the survey. So we've got over 300 registered for today's Livable Cities Local Lab, and I'd like to welcome all of you. So before we start to get the program going, we'd like to ask all of you a question so we can find out where you are all coming from this afternoon. So the question, and you'll see it pop up on your screens, the question is, where are you joining us from? Just pick one. Is it Metro Manila, rest of Luzon, Visayas, or Mindanao? This will give us a chance to see where people are connecting from. So let me repeat the question. Where are you joining us from? Metro Manila, rest of Luzon, Visayas, or Mindanao? Okay, so we have the results. 35% Metro Manila, 53% rest of Luzon. So we are a very Luzon-centric crowd today at 88%, 8% Visayas, and 4% Mindanao. So normally we have a few more, quite a bit more for Visayas and Mindanao, but I guess because we're focusing on Batangas, then the much of the audience has come from people, has come from Luzon. Okay, thanks for that. And so let us formally begin our program. To formally open this session, we have invited Jaime Augusto Zobel de Ayala to deliver the opening remarks. Jaza, as he is known, is the chairman and CEO of Ayala Corporation, one of the largest business groups in the Philippines, with interests in real estate, banking, telecommunications, energy and infrastructure, industrial technologies, healthcare, and education. Outside of the Ayala Group, he is a member of various business and social civic organizations in the Philippines and abroad, including the JP Morgan International Council, JP Morgan Asia Pacific Council, and the Mitsubishi Corporation International Advisory Council. Jaime is, of course, a great believer also in education. He sits on the board of Singapore Management University and various advisory boards of Harvard University, including its Global Advisory Council, the Harvard Business School Board of Dean's Advisors, and the Harvard Business School Asia Pacific Advisory Board, which he chairs. He is Chairman Emeritus of Asia Business Council and a trustee of Endeavor Philippines. He's been recognized as a United Nations Sustainable Development Goals pioneer and is only one of 10 such individuals recognized by the UN in the world. So it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Jaime Agustus-Obel to deliver the opening remarks for the first Livable Cities Local Labs. Jaime, over to you.
Thank you very much, Bill. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you, Jaime. Go
Fantastic.
ahead.
Thank you very much. To my good friend, Governor Mandanas, delighted to be here in this. And Bill, congratulations again for making this happen. To Mayor Beverly Rose Di Macuja, Mayor Eric Africa, Peter Maquera from our Globe team. Peter, it's good to see you. An old friend, Bong Belen. It's been a little while, Bong, since we've seen each other. Of course, Bill, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, delighted to be here with you all today to give some opening remarks and later on participate with all of you in this gathering. Again, thank you for inviting me to speak to this Livable Cities Local Lab. I think it's just a great initiative on so many different fronts, and I'm just delighted that these forums are a great way for all of us to get together, both private and public sector, and see what we can continue doing together. I'd especially like to thank the Livable Cities Challenge, a great initiative, the League of Cities of the Philippines, of course, Globe Telecom, who's been just a super sponsor of these gatherings, and of course, the province of Batangas for hosting all of us here today. Just a couple of words that at Ayala, we've always subscribed to the view that building local competitiveness is essential to boosting long-term national competitiveness. The two things are absolutely linked together. Our provinces and cities are the primary movers of economic growth and production, let's not forget. And in a way, they're collectively the engines which power actually the whole country. Our cities and provinces are the generators of wealth, of development, and of consumption, each in their respective regions. However, in a country which has grown to our size of approximately 110 million scattered over so many islands, our traditional growth has focused really on too few metropolitan areas. And though more people have shifted from rural settings to urban settings over the last 2 generations, our focus still remains on 3 big metropolitan areas. I think my personal feeling that in order to drive faster, more equitable and inclusive growth, we need to turn our attention to developing 30 to 40 metropolitan areas scattered throughout our provinces and islands, effectively creating more economic engines in different parts of the country. This is why I'm just so pleased to be part of this inaugural Livable Cities Local Labs, because it is a forum dedicated to provinces and regions. The labs have already served as a platform for sharing good practices, innovation, appropriate technology, and a venue for sharing new solutions and forging new partnerships for urban planning. Forums like this underscore the importance of having local governments and the private sector work together in constructive ways to build local competitiveness and spur economic development. It's a great formula, in my opinion, for success. At the Ayala Group, we've invested considerable resources and time to build and support local communities all over the Philippines. Our footprint includes residential communities, retail spaces and malls, industrial estates, and tourism destinations by Ayala Land, banking also and financial services by BPI, water services by Manila Water, telecommunication and internet, of course, by Globe Telecom, power generation by AC Energy, manufacturing facilities by AC Industrials, and educational services and schools by AC Education, healthcare by AC Health. The list goes on. And our foundation, Ayala Foundation, has also been very involved with Batangas upon the invitation of Governor Mandanas many years ago. Our philosophy at Ayala has been to make these investments so that we can do our share to make lives better and improve standards of living in communities wherever they may be located. This supports the inclusive growth strategy we need for the nation to enable it to grow and uplift the lives of our people. Education, health, home, power, water, connectivity, banking, jobs. These are the basics we all strive to provide to a special access to all Filipinos. This philosophy is practiced very actively, I see in Batangas, where virtually every company in our group actually has operations. And where I've had the pleasure, actually, I think Governor Mandanas knows this, of riding my motorcycle through many of the back roads. In fact, I asked the staff to include a couple of pictures. That's me there, riding between Laia and Lobo. It's a beautiful road that's being built there and a beautiful view of Batangas. I thought, Governor Mandanas, I would show you that I'm regularly in your part of the country. I don't know if there are any other pictures built, but certainly I enjoy visiting the province. I often go to, there it is, the Malabrigo lighthouse as well in Batangas. I enjoy taking some sandwiches and coffee along and hanging out there on Saturdays as well. But we look forward to working together with Batangas and Batangueños, and in particular, of course, with Governor Batangas. That's in Calatagan, Batangas, with my son Jaime. As you can see, I spend a lot of my free time roaming your province. And so I look forward to working with all of you in Batangas to help achieve, I guess, this vision for the province, to work with all of you. A province that's very close to my heart. It's been very close to my family as well. My grandfather spent a great deal of time there, my cousins, my family. We have a home out there. And so I look forward to listening to the governor's address and to seeing whatever way we can continue to help with all of you. Thank you very much for this invitation, and I look forward to participating in the panel later on. Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime, and great shots of you riding through Batangas to get a real close-in view of what's happening in the province. So thanks for that, and also thanks for highlighting your business footprint, I guess, in the province, and I'm sure it's quite similar across the country. Now let's proceed to the highlight of our event. I'm pleased to introduce the Governor Herminando Mandanas, the governor of Batangas Province. Governor Mandanas has served as governor since 2016 and previously from 1995 to 2004 as well. He served then after stepping down as governor when he finished his term. He served as a member of the House of Representatives in Congress, representing the 2nd District of Batangas from 2004 until 2013. So you can see he has a very rich experience in running the province, both from the executive and the legislative vantage point. From 1995 to 2004, when he was served as the governor, he was concurrent to be president of the Federation of Regional Development Councils of the Philippines and chairman of the Regional Development Council for Region 4A, Southern Tagalog, from 95 to 2004, the Regional Peace and Order Council for Region 4A as well, and Calabar Zone Coordinating Council, which of course included Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, and Quezon. We are delighted to have Governor Todo Mandanas join us today to give us his vision of Batangas province, and I guess what is a little bit like the state province report for Batangas. So let's all please give a warm welcome to Governor Todo Mandanas. Governor, the floor is yours.
On behalf of the provincial government of Batangas as governor, may I express my profound gratitude to the Livable Local Labs program for featuring the province of Batangas as the first province under this platform, and to be a partner in sharing our vision, mission, programs, and practices. We are certain that we will be able to learn much in this particular program, improve our public services, and promote effective and efficient delivery of inclusive and sustainable socio-economic development. And as you state in this particular program, to be livable. Well, Batangas is very grateful to the Almighty God for the abundant natural blessings that we have been endowed, starting with our number one resource, huh? Starting with the innate virtues and culture of the Batangueños, being really capable, daring, courageous, and definitely enterprising. So truly the best natural resource that any province can have. Number one resource, our people. And the concrete evidences are actually the promoters of this particular program. Our chairman, Mr. Bill Luz, comes from a traditionally respected family in Lipa, Batangas. The Luz are really from the very enterprising city of the province of Batangas, Lipa. And even our sponsor, the chairman and CEO of Ayala Corporation, JASA, Jaime Augusto Sobel de Ayala, who, of course, we have known each other for a long time, and whose ancestors really, as he mentioned, really hailed from the western part of Batangas, really with properties in the towns of Nasugbu, Balayan, Lian, and Calatagan, where they still are. And incidentally, Globe, again, our sponsor, being member of where our other colleague who is going to speak here, Peter, is from the enterprise group of Globe. Really, Globe started their submarine cables landing station also in Batangas. When I was first governor in the first term from 1995 to 98, they started in 98. They started operating there. And together with the other telco, until recently, the cable, submarine cable landing stations for the entire Philippines, 100%, really are in Nasugbu, Batangas. So we could really say that that's one of the most important projects that we were able to attract. They were attracted primarily, of course, because of the natural setting, the natural resource, location that we have. As we all know, we are blessed with the, I would say, best harbors in south of Luzon, or probably even in Luzon. And this would be our Batangas Bay and our Balayan Bay. And because this is a very important resource that that's really helping in develop the province and radiating to, of course, to the entire Philippines. Because of these harbors, Batangas, we could say, really is right now and I guess for the longer time, Batangas will remain to be really the most powerful province. I mean, from the point of view of electric power. We have power plants with a total production of 5,300 megawatts. And the good part of it is that 1,200 really comes from natural gas with the terminal in Batangas City. Batangas City could be really considered you could consider Batangas City as the most powerful city because there we have the power plants of the Lopez Group. They generate right now 2,000 megawatts. There you also have Ilihan, operated by another group, and that's 1,200. So just natural gas, and we have 3, and under construction right now is going to be the first natural gas gasification plant, which is valued at around $2 billion. Because the supply of natural gas from Malampaya, Palawan, it may be depleted by 2024, that soon. So now the setting up of the first natural gas gasification plant has already started, and therefore with the coal plants in Calaca and even the geothermal plants in the northwest part of Batangas, all of them would constitute really 5,300 megawatts. And please consider that Metro Manila, the consumption is only 4,900, or even lower now with COVID. So you could see that the province of Batangas really is the source of electric power, and the number one in the whole country. And Batangas City is the number one, we call the most powerful city. And we all know that power is needed to be livable, together with the communication, which, as I was mentioned, we still have 65% of the submarine cable landing stations in Batangas. There are new ones that have been started already in the other parts of the country. And also, when it comes to fuel, the supply of fuel of the entire country, really 65% pass through the province of Batangas. So here we're talking about gasoline, diesel, kerosene, aviation gas, bunker. So all of this you put together, we have 65% for the entire country passing through Batangas, because there we have the depot. Now, as you know, the refineries now in the Philippines have been suspended because of economic reasons and the price of oil. So, and the demand. So the economics now, all the former refineries, and we had 2 operating refineries before. The one of Caltex, which has already been, which has stopped several years ago, and Shell, which stopped only last year. I know that Ayala also has certain participation. So 65%. And of course, we have the independents. We have Sea Oil, we have Phoenix, and the others being supplied coming from the province of Batangas. So 65% would pass to us. Even Petron has a big depot in Mabini, Batangas. So these projects are essential, as I mentioned, but also when it comes to construction, in terms of supply of steel, from Batangas would be the number one source, with Steel Asia operating there and expanding right now. And very important in terms of education, we have the Batangas State University, which is the biggest state university in the whole of Luzon, outside of the National College of Polytechnic. So it's the biggest state university. And we have many other universities which are well known. We have Lyceum, we have University of Batangas, you have college. So we have, in terms of population of college education, we have around 100,000. Which is very important. And the others, there are many other small colleges around, which And even the province of Batangas, recognizing the importance of education, we have 200 million pesos every year for scholars to assist our students. That's part of our program. And that's why since I started this, since I started in 2016, this should be my second round being governor. I am now on the second term of my second round. So I still have one more term. But we have already given assistance to more than 75,000 college students. Our scholarship is from senior and from senior high school up to they finish their university course. So this is just the province. Of course, as we all know, when it comes to Batangas State University and the other government colleges like Batangas City has, Lipas City has, also the students are all scholars. They don't pay any tuition, neither fees. So, and this is something which we promote. We have a big share because of the development in Batangas. We have a big share for education coming from the real property tax that we call the local school board, under the local school board. And that's what we use in putting up buildings, setting up telecommunication network for students. For example, just last week, we distributed more than 1,000 laptops to our teachers in the province of Batangas. So we really focus on education. Well, actually, you could classify the basic programs we have into four. Health, where in year we have the regional level 3 hospital, the Batangas State University, which is operated by the national government. And the province, we have 12 like district hospitals. And the private sector is also very developed in Batangas. And I know that Ayala is also in joint venture with one of them, where they provide really advanced equipment and, of course, highly trained and compassionate doctors, especially during this time. And so in terms of health, those are being promoted. We have other private hospitals which are known nationally, Mediatrix, for example, where they do, they're tied up with St. Luke. So what we're saying is health, and on the local government, Batangas, I could say, when I started in 1995, that was the first time that really a local government gave allowances or honoraria to the barangay health workers. These are the volunteers. Since 1995, they started in 1995. So we started already giving them monthly allowances. And of course, providing them. So that's why right now we have around 6,000 barangay health workers and another 3,000 of the barangay nutrition scholars. And which right now are helping in our fight against really against this pandemic, against COVID. So under our health program also, we have right now, we have ordered and to be delivered, delivery would start in 3 months, ambulances, which could also be used for rescue when it comes for evacuation, like whenever there is a earthquake or storm, typhoons, and even hopefully not another eruption of the volcano. So with this one, we started this planning this so that this year we will be every barangay. The province has 1,078 barangays. Every barangay will have a rescue vehicle, which you see over here. So this is just the sample. The 300 will be delivered in, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. Another 300 will be delivered the month after, and the balance of 400 for the 1,000. So this is just part of our really delivery of a very basic service in health, but could be also used in our protection of our, of course, protection of life and properties in terms of disaster. We have already elevated, well, several years ago, even before the eruption of the Al volcano, our Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office. It has been elevated. I mean, the national government is still thinking, deliberating whether we should have a full department to mitigate calamities and disasters. Well, Batangas has gone ahead on that one because so it's a full department with a big budget right now. They are operating on a budget of over 300 million, and this is being added now with COVID. They're being supported by other programs. Well, the same way, our hospitals, now this week we are bidding out another for additional beds. We have spent during this past year since COVID for improvement and start of construction. We have obligated already around 400 million, and then we still have. Now we are setting up. The plans already there. The funds are already there. Putting up another more than 200 bed hospital with CT scan and all the equipment on the western part of Batangas, an acquired property of the province, and a 5-hectare property. And with COVID, we are compliant on the province level when it comes to putting up the isolation centers, which are needed right now. Well, now it's highlighted what happened this past with the declaration of bubble. You know, even if the province of Batangas is not included in the bubble, last Monday, I have issued an executive order that we have the same guidelines and protocol, just the same guidelines applicable to the province of Batangas, because it is so, we are so strategic and we are in a crossroad that whatever happens in Metro Manila, in the rest of Calabarzon, necessarily we are affected. We are affected. More than 20% of our working force, they're working outside here in Metro Manila and Calabarzon. It's because we have a very good transportation network connecting us, and even our port, the Batangas International Port, really has 3 times more passengers, even during normal times, and of course now it's a little bit abnormal, but still during normal times before COVID, we have 3 times more passengers domestic than in our Batangas International Port, than the Port of Manila, the North Harbor, the Port of Manila. So since 2000, during the time of President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, it has been declared, and it has been really de facto the start of the nautical highway. So that is the reason why Batangas Port is really the #1 port when it comes to passengers. So, however, in terms of cargo, it is only #2. The number one port in our country generating is still the Manila International Container Port. But Batangas Port is already the number two in terms of generating revenues and traffic in the entire country. So that is also another, and that is the reason why we realize that we have to improve, and Batangas province on our own. We started already what we call Batangas Access Zone. This connects the Batangas International Port going to First Gen, which is the port for the natural gas and also what fuel that they have, First Gen, they're contiguous. And then next to it, the province finally started with our food terminal. The port there is in front of it will be the access zone. The food terminal has been declared together with the port, which is under construction right now, has been declared by the Department of Agriculture as the start of the food supply chain of the country. And is the jumping board also of the what is called by as the food supply chain or the agro-industrial business corridor. The province acquired a 29-hectare property. It was an idle property when I became governor in the first time. I realized that the national government has a lot of resources which are idle, really idle. So what we did was we bought it from the national government. And then for development, we bidded it out for a developer. However, it was not continued because there was a change. The succeeding governors didn't see it was necessary. So when I came back, I started it again. So finally now there, and with the help of the national government, a port is being constructed already now. And we have already the plans of extending this access zone. Access zone is a composite of the wharf, the setup area, staging area, and of course the road. And the road would connect, as I said, the Batangas International Port with the First Gen Port, with the food terminal port, and then going to the Caltex area, which is now owned by the National Development Company of Department of Trade. And again, another idle asset. So they have another right along the shoreline. They have idle of no less than 100 hectares here in Batangas, which we have been trying to work these past 2 years with them, really to make it part of the project. And we will do it on our own expense. But of course, the national government has its own plans. And so it's still pending. So, but still we are now planning to connect because the traffic is already very difficult. Connect along Batangas Bay because of the developments. Right next to the Caltex area, Chevron, as it's called now, which is under NDC, is the CocoChem. Again, another government enterprise. This is by CocoFed. This is where they use coconut oil as raw materials to come out with chemical products. And then right next to it is the Bawan Port. It's a local port but run by PPA for the area. So that's around 3 hectares. The length is around 3 hectares. Little 3 hectares. So, and there little by little, we're starting with it. We are able to get a boost through the initiative of Senator Bongo DPWH is now starting part of the phase 1 of our access zone. But this will be the start, as we said, of the agro-industrial chain. Department of Agriculture has already invested only this past year, no less than 2 billion, 2 billion 2 in the province of Batangas as part of this chain. The slaughterhouse in Tanawan, warehouse under construction right now in Ibaan under the operation of provincial government of Batangas and other ventures. And Batangas, in support of this, we participated in the program of the World Bank, wherein what's called the Philippine Rural Development Program, wherein the province of Batangas puts in 100 million, and then we are given a grant for the cooperatives to have livelihood and improve our agricultural production. So that is part of our livelihood program. And this we have to do. But the private sector also, we are able to invite. So as probably everyone knows, Batangas is one of the top sugar producer in the whole country. We have there Asocorera Don Pedro, and we have the Balayan Sugar Refinery. Now is and also in terms of livelihood or economic development, Batangas is 100% the only one. We are hosting the only producer of petrochemical products. We have JG Summit, and which right now is expanding and about to open up the naphtha cracker plant. So it's the only operating petrochemical plant in the country. All the rest are being imported. So it's also in the province of Batangas. So effectively, and in terms of production of even alcohol, still Batangas is also number 1. We have all the needs of the group of Andrew Tan, Emperador. We have the one of Lucio Tan, La Tondena. They're all there. And the other producers of alcohol products coming from sugar, from molasses. So all the different groups are there. When it comes to food production, we have San Miguel over there. In terms of flour production, we are again number 1. And when it comes to processing of meat products, it's still there. Now there are plans for cement plants. We have already existing cement plant, but still that would be increased very soon. Also, so in terms of livelihood and economic contribution, it is there. And all the services that we have, which I've mentioned, we classify them. We have an acronym. We call it H would be for health, E would be for education, L would be to livelihood, and P for our protection of life and properties. So there under P would be our construction of infra projects. Under livelihood, we are focusing, well, we're sort of everywhere there, but now we are focusing in agriculture because of the present pandemic and the need. Batangas, as you know, has the most number of feed mills in the whole country. Feed mills, because we supply a big portion, well, 25% of the pork requirement, of the chicken requirement, poultry products, even of tilapia coming from Taal Lake. So in terms of food production, we produce on our own, but basically we are also the channel because of our port of those coming from Mindoro, even from the Visayas, Mindanao, and even imported. Whenever the grains are imported, whether it's corn or rice, they all land there. And even importation of cars and other products, because of we have a congested Port of Manila that causes also congestion of traffic in Metro Manila. And it is really a no-brainer, absolutely no-brainer, why the development of the Port of Batangas hasn't been done. Well, it was planned since 1984. Of course, it was stopped when there was EDSA revolution. And nothing moved until the time of President Ramos. After the Cory, that was only the time it started. And fortunately, it was continued by President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. And then it stopped again. So we are only in phase 2. Only on phase 2, where there is supposed to be 4 phases. And the other 2 phases, there have been, well, nothing happening up to now. That's why the province has to take the initiative, because we really think that it is necessary. And fortunately, I would say another contribution of the province is really promoting good governance that would really make the delivery of these services, health, education, livelihood protection of life and property, really feasible and practical. And I'm talking about the concept of the principle of subsidiarity enshrined in our constitution, which also already mandated by the local government code since 1992. But since 1992, the national government has not been following the law. They devolved the services, but not all the funds needed so that we will be able to really do an effective and efficient delivery. So that's why the province of Batangas, when the first time I was governor, we sued in the Supreme Court. Honestly, no other local government joined me at that time. Not a single province, not a single barangay, not a single town. And I was even being discouraged, but still, I persisted, and fortunately, I won. The province of Batangas won against the national government. But that time, it was we got only 60 billion. But this time, the second time around, when I entered Congress, again, I tried to, with the new administration, I tried to point out again that there is another anomaly, that really they haven't been already in accordance with law, they have not been releasing, they have been withholding and using funds. So I filed the case again. But that is not before I have been trying to convince the government of Matuwid na Daan. Well, Matuwid na Daan, we have to follow the law because it is really needed. It would really expedite the progress of our country. The principle of subsidiarity, giving local autonomy. There are functions which can be better done by local rather than national. And of course, many functions also by national. And every time the national would do programs that should be done, which have already been devolved, they try to do it, and using the funds that they don't want to give to the local government. So I tried the Matuwid na Daan government, but instead I was fighting for it in the right way, in Congress, in LEDAC, and all those. Still, I ended up being expelled as chairman of the Ways and Means. So I had to file a case already in the Supreme Court, and we won. I was joined by my classmate, in college in LaSalle, the former governor of Bataan, Ted Garcia, who passed away already, even before the case was resolved by the Supreme Court. And of course, I was also joined by the grandson of General Miguel Malvar, Jose Malvar Villegas, and in the filing of the Supreme Court case. So, but not a single, other than Ted, who was a governor also like me at the time. So no other governor, there was one mayor and probably a few barangays. So, but still we won. And that meant that really, for the first year, it would 50% increase. It was released in 2019. But again, this government thought that it should be done still in 2020, next year, the release. Okay, so, but we cannot do anything because we understand that there is this emergency that we have right now. But what we're saying is that, again, from the province of Batangas, we are able really to promote, that's why I say, this good governance, really good governance, following the law. So that is another contribution that we have, because everything starts. And if you would say, what is our problem really, is really just follow the law and honesty, very important. And then really having leaders who would be, I say, traits that all Filipinos would have. But in Batangas, we are fortunate that we have been trying to follow, being courageous, but at the same time being compassionate. And of course, being tenacious in the process. So we won. And that means that in 2002, there will be an increase. If you compare it to 2019, when the Supreme Court decision, it's an increase of 100% compared to 2019 share, which we call IRA, Internal Revenue Allotment. This is the share of the local government units in the collection of national taxes. And then it would really be almost 100% every year progressive. So that is the reason why a lot depends right now. That's why this particular program is very important. The program right now, and really I'm very grateful that here among local governments, we would be able really to render good service, which is very badly needed right now. And here, the development will really be at the grassroots level. And right now, we could accelerate because with this share in the internal revenue, we could leverage it, which Batangas is doing. You know, we borrowed already. That's why we could do all these projects in health, in education, in the livelihood projects. We can do it because we leverage what we have won in the Supreme Court. So we have already been, we were able to get 4 billion already from DBP, and now another 3.5 billion and another 5. So this we try to reject. So this is part really of our vision, which we don't create anything new. We just mirror what the preamble in our constitution. That is what we want to do. That we really want to establish a government that would really embody the ideals, with the help of God, of course, that we want to build really a just, humane society and establish a government that shall embody our ideals, aspirations, promote the common good, conserve our patrimony, secure for ourselves and posterity the blessings and independence and democratic rule. under the regime of truth, which means no corruption, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace. So this is the same vision that the province of Batangas has. We just added one more as part of our mission, that we should share. We should share our experiences, the bounties, to provide these opportunities really with others for the whole Philippines. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Governor. Wow, such a tour de force presentation on Batangas province. Thank you for presenting your health program, health, education, livelihood, and protection, and also for highlighting the key role that Batangas plays in areas such as energy, ports, and agro-industrial development, among others. And then finally, I like how you tied everything up and put it all in the context of the preamble of the Constitution and to your mission to share with others. So thank you so much, Governor, for the presentation. Before I introduce our next speaker, I'd like to remind everybody that if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A box or the comments section of Facebook Live so we can answer them during the panel discussion later. And some of you will be asked to actually ask your question if you want to. You can ask your questions live by turning on your videos and your audio, your microphones when the moderator asks you. So for our next speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce Peter Maquera. Peter is a Senior Vice President for the Enterprise Group at Globe Telecom, which provides ICT services to the top corporations and international companies doing business in the Philippines. Prior to joining Globe, Peter was Deputy CEO and Director of Livid Investments, Ayala Corporation's holding company for its investments in business process outsourcing. Before Livid, Peter was CEO of SPI Technologies, a highly awarded industry leader in the publishing and healthcare markets. He has also held executive positions in real estate, construction, and financial services in the US, Australia, and Indonesia. We've invited Peter to speak about public-private collaboration with local governments. And so it's my pleasure to please welcome Peter Maquera from Globe Telecom. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Bill. Governor Mandanas, Mayor De Macuja, Mayor Africa, Mayor Sanchez, Mayor Halili, our chairman, Mr. Jaime Zobel, Bong Belet, and my old friend, Bill Luce. Very good afternoon to all of you. It's a privilege to be with you here today. First of all, before I begin, a very happy birthday to you, Governor Mandanas.
Oh, that's right.
Governor Mandanas, I appreciated hearing you say that.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Notwithstanding all the resources, it's actually quite daunting. You've got so many projects going on and you certainly have a lot of natural resources, but notwithstanding all your resources, it's fantastic to hear that you felt that the people, your people, were your number one resource. So I hope you'll see, and I'll try to cover it in our presentation today, that connectivity, and in particular digitalization, is really democratizing and will help transform and uplift lives and will be key to inclusive prosperity for our whole country. So Globe is on the ready here to provide you the H, the E, the L, and the P that you need. So if you might give me a moment, I'll just share my screen. I actually have a few slides to share with you to just maybe cover some of the topics that Bill wanted to talk about. So connected Batangas. So we're with you, maybe just at a national level and as a corporate level. I just wanted to share with you that, the pace of digitalization in this country is staggering, and we're committed to, fuel that change in our country so that the country is admired, at least going back 5 years, if not longer, we've been spending over a third of our revenues back into the network. This is not a third of our profits. This is a third of our revenues. And in 2021, the budget is the highest it's ever been. It's going to be 70 billion compared to our revenues just recently. That's 46%. As far as the globally, I think China is the only one that's higher at about 40. And so we're on par with them already. So stay tuned. Part of the, we are privileged as a country, interestingly. When you look at the map, you will see that we are in the fastest growing region in the world, the Greater China region and Southeast Asia. And you will see here that we're actually increasingly seen as the gateway to this fast growing region. And we ourselves being such keen and early adopters to digital, it makes us an attractive market. And I'm getting a lot of investments in digital. And of course, you see, I think where you see that yellow dot, I think it's very close. I think it might actually be in Batangas, and one of the key landing stations and submarine cables we own is actually in Nasugbu. We own 3 across the country, planning more. We own 3 submarine cables that go in and out of the Philippines and are invested in 14 others. And across the country as data centers, if you include even our internal use, we have over 40 of them in the country. And so as digital continues to evolve and to continue to propagate in this country, I can see with your access to power, I think that's going to be key. I think the Bay and your other facilities and the business you've already attracted and the education that you provide, I think that's going to be key to attracting more investment in Batangas. And there are some opportunities I want to share here that we can work together on, I hope. Just the investments we're making across the country. I talked about the new landing station that's coming up, also in Luzon. We've got 3,800 kilometers of new fiber optic cables on the terrestrial backhaul. We've got 2,245 kilometers. And, what's hard in the Philippines is, we have 7,000 islands. So even in country, there's a lot of what we call submarine or wet segments that we have to invest in. And with all the investments we already have in place, we're also looking at new technologies like dense wavelength division multiplexing that essentially enhances and boosts the power and capacity of the existing network. So just to recap, so I think our CEO Ernest was close to being hung up on Globe Tower in the middle of last year. Fortunately, President Duterte took it in stride and used that as a catalyst to kind of rally the public sector to work with the private sector to improve the permitting process. That's allowed us to really fast track, a lot of our infrastructure investments. So, just some of the things that we're doing and what we've achieved, we're committing to over 1 million fiber to the home lines across the country, quite a bit actually in Batangas, 2,000 new cell sites. I believe as of today, we probably have more cell sites in the country than the other companies. This is actually double what we did last year. And we're investing and fortifying 4G. We actually, because of the spectrum limitations, we've taken a bet to refarm 3G and make them all 4G. Up until recently, still 40% of the country was in 2 and 3G. So now that people are really, the digital adoption is increasing, so the high speed is becoming more important. So a lot of investments are going there, and you'll see huge improvements. So the average mobile download speed from 16 to 26. So that's what a 60-ish, 65% increase. Similar increase also on the home broadband. I want to, just switching gears a bit to Batangas itself. You should know that Globe is now a signatory along with Ayala Group, and our chairman Jaime is, a big driver of this, a signatory to the United Nations Global Compact for sustainable development, for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. I know this ties really well to your HELP, and that the DILG uses this as a scorecard. to measure the progress of the LGUs. So we've aligned with this, and I'll share with you how some of our products and services are actually supporting these SDG goals. So we actually also have, a one, strategy in one page for Batangas, for our vision for a connected Batangas, and that's igniting the ingenuity of every Batangueño towards adaptive, resilient, globally competitive province through technology. So quite aware about the pillars of, you called it, help us, I guess, more brief, but we actually segmented it in more parts. So key to that is, connectivity, technology, resilience, and so on. So, and underlying all of that is a robust network. And, we're very committed to do that in Batangas. Specific to Batangas itself, so I asked the team to do this heat map. So, the color coding, the pink existing mobile areas, the new ones in white, the fiber to the home in blue, upcoming builds in yellow. So you see that cluster, ever increasing in your province. So in terms of cell sites planned, you had 361 by the end of the year. We're planning 200 this year. So what is that? Over 60% increase in terms of coverage. Significant increase in fortifying the 4G sites. Fiber to the home, 50,000 lines, so over 150% increase in fiber. And just hoping that will increase the speeds and lower the latency in your province. Just some of the key things that we can do, have done, are doing. So we have a group called Go Wi-Fi. We provide free Wi-Fi across 3,100 locations nationwide, specific to transportation hubs, government offices, hospitals. So we're in over 80 hospitals today, and quite prepared to be with you if anything happens with Taal volcano. I hear that's rumbling, currently as we speak. We've provided free Wi-Fi to 2, 4, or 5 of your medical centers and your government offices. You might be interested in this one. So Gcash. So this is our fintech, our digital wallet company. It's just, I think digital actually accelerated, the pandemic accelerated the adoption of, this cashless transaction. So we actually now have 33 million users on it, 75,000 merchants, 30,000 cash-in points, recently breached $1 trillion in gross transaction value. What's interesting though is, when you put this in the hands of, the unbanked, 2/3 of our country is still unbanked. So imagine how this really plays to inclusive prosperity and really interconnecting and bringing so many more of the Filipinos into the economy. So I think I've got some examples of how other LGUs use this. In the case of Makati, we have 500,000 Gcash cards out there. So they use it for their IDs, they use it for disbursements to avail of, special privilege that you might have as a Makati citizen. This was just recently adopted in the municipality of Cordova in Cebu. It's increasingly becoming a lifestyle app, so you can actually get loans. You have a credit score. You're able to get. We're offering COVID insurance and offering global investment funds with very minimal loan balance. Deposit balances. So again, inclusive prosperity. Gcash has been really just an amazing example in the country in the recent past. We have a platform called Consulta MD, as well as with a joint venture, in partnership with AC Health, Health Now. So for a peso a day, you can be in the most remote parts of the Philippines and get, professional medical advice. If you wanted to go a little bit more and have a video consultation, you can do that as well with with Health Now, with Ayala Health, and get medicine delivery and schedule clinical appointments. This we found actually was particularly important for the LGUs as they provide, as the administrations provided it to their constituents. So this is, I think, maybe something worth looking at for you guys. And then, just real quickly, I know we're short of time and I want to get through to that Q&A, but we talked about education. As I mentioned earlier, we have, worked with the municipalities of Manila and Quezon City for their teachers. And I think there's over 100 schools that we're working with there. We even retrofitted buses with Wi-Fi to look for problem areas to make sure that the kids could continue to learn and the teachers could continue to teach. We work with the world's greatest technology companies, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, really to provide these learning platforms in education and to allow teachers and students to work, to learn, to teach, asynchronously. So I think that could be, that would have some permanency. So something worth working with you on, and your focus on education. I've been to a lot of your resorts, so that's also, we have a particular practice area there as well, but it's not just about, making money, it's also about sustainability. So we work and do a lot of webinars and in partnership with experts, to preserve, so for biodiversity and conservation, to have zero waste, to have contactless solutions, and really a lot of digital solutions to boost the recovery for the tourism sector. And then I think you talked about this in that protection. So there's some great technologies around our intelligent cities practice, where we can set up a command center, interconnect all of your key offices, so you can you just be on top of things across the whole province. And share notes and alert the the ambulances in the first response. So that thing, that's also increasingly become more agile in terms that you can have it on the cloud and embed it with artificial intelligence and have the coordination much faster in a digital way, as opposed to the manual, disparate, paper systems that's prevalent in most places. Actually, that's what this was. So this was really interesting. We did a proof of concept at the airport where you had intelligent cameras, and you could program these cameras to, if there was an unattended package for more than 20 minutes, it would send an alert to the security team to investigate, or if somebody, if it was in an emergency situation, you would be alerted very quickly on your mobile phone or the command center. So these are just some of the things I hope that gave you and the rest of the mayors and the rest of the audience a flavor for some of the things that we can work together on for HELP. Thank you again for the privilege to share this information with you, and we stand by you in your digitalization efforts. Have a good afternoon.
Peter, thanks so much. You have really responded directly to the governor's presentation and ideas. I like how you touched on the health, the education, the livelihood, the protection, and brought in all the connectivity that makes it possible. So thanks a lot for doing that, Peter.
You're welcome.
Now let's proceed to the panel discussion, and let me call on Sui Suarez, who's going to be our moderator. Sui is an energy industry professional with 25 years of experience in communications, corporate social responsibility, commercial oil products businesses, and project management at Shell. His most recent roles were in corporate external relations for Shell International, where he led the global communications campaign on the future of energy, and in the Shell scenario team, where he managed external facing activities and channels. He's a founding member of the Livable Cities Challenge and continues to be part of its core team. Let's please welcome Sui, and Sui will now take over our moderating for our panel discussion. Sui, over to you.
Thank you, Bill, for the kind introduction. And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the panel discussion portion of our program. Before we kick off, we have some other city mayors present in the audience today. And if our admin can flash the slide, I'd like to acknowledge them before we go on. All right. While our admin is putting that together, let me see. Let's move on to mention that Mayor Beverly Rose Di Macuja of Batangas City is unable to join us today, but she has kindly taken the time to prepare a short message for us. So if our staff can please queue up the message from Mayor Belen, we'll listen to her video message now.
Ayala, of course, to our dear Governor, Hermelando Dodo Mandanas, to Lipa City Mayor Eric Africa, Metro Batangas Business Club, Globe Telecom, Livable Cities, thank you po for this opportunity. Let me introduce to all of you our home, the city we are most proud of, Batangas City. Batangas City has a present population of almost 350,000. And aside from being the capital of the province of Batangas, it is also known as the industrial port city and one of the leading regional growth center in the Calabarzon region. Our city is one of the nation's top revenue earning cities, hosting the Batangas International Port Container Terminal and several large-scale industries dealing with petrochemical and naphtha cracker, flour milling, fuel farm and chemical tank farm, and petroleum products import terminal. Batangas City is also known as the country's most powerful city in terms of electricity generation of about 3,300 megawatts from the 5 operating natural gas power plants, supplying the 40% requirement of the entire Luzon grid. We have identified some of our strengths which may contribute to the attainment of the vision of the province. Business-friendly governance, high level of competency of its human capital, resilient environment conditions, excellent power supply, and presence of internet connectivity and facilities, diverse marine resource due to our proximity to the Verde Island Passage, Marine Biodiversity Conservation Commission, well-maintained and efficient road network system, and other related infrastructures, and booming investment for large-scale commercial activities and natural gas terminal facility power plants. We also just came up with our approved CLUP, or the Comprehensive Land Use Plan for 2019 to 2028, and integrated zoning ordinance to serve as our guide in the future growth and development of our city in the next 10 years, particularly in realizing the vision of a more progressive, secure, smart, resilient, and sustainable Batangas City. This is, of course, is in line with the development thrust and vision of the Batangas province. The multifunctional port city development concept adopted in our development plan seeks to improve the quality of life of our residents, of course, protect the city's natural environment through sustainability and resilience, spread growth and development to other parts of our city, identified the city's development potentials and strengths, increase accessibility and mobility, provide balanced economic growth and opportunities for urban and rural areas, conserve and enhance biocultural diversity, and harmonize the development of our Kalumpang River, Mount Banoy, Pagkilatan, and our Isla Verde tourism corridor. The city government continues to improve services and infrastructures for our citizens through the ongoing construction of the 18-kilometer 4-lane Star Tollway to Pinamukan Industrial Zone Access Road, improvement of all our city roads, improvement of our Batangas City Sports Center facilities, our EBD Health program for our indigent citizens, our scholarship program, and a strong support to the city public education system. On January 12 last year, Taal volcano erupted and the city responded by deploying our search, rescue, and retrieval or SRR units and augmented rescue vehicles and equipment to the affected families from neighboring towns to assist in the response operations and rescue mobilization in the affected towns near the volcano. Typhoons Quinta, Rolly, and Ulysses, 3 typhoons consecutively battered Batangas City and most of Luzon. Rescue operations were conducted for our residents, and after receiving calls for rescue from the NCR, particularly Marikina City, we immediately deployed our WASAR, or our water rescue and search operations team, to assist them. The city government of Batangas gives utmost priority to the health and well-being of our constituents, and owing to the looming threat of the COVID-19 virus, we immediately adhered to the mandates of minimum public health standards specified by the DOH. Few of our strategic actions to the COVID-19 pandemic: we created the task force against COVID-19. We activated the incident command system. We also established our 5 temporary treatment and monitoring facilities with a 92-bed capacity. We hired additional manpower like nurses, med techs, contact tracers, and encoders. We also provided medicines for frontliners and COVID-19 patients, PPEs for health frontliners. There's also the provision of disinfectants and regular conduct of citywide disinfection. We also provided food commodities to all households of our 105 barangays. And we are also in the process of purchasing vaccines to target at least 70% of our qualified residents. Just recently, Batangas City was hailed by the Worldwide Fund as the world's most lovable city in its 2020 edition of the WWF We Love Cities campaign. Our city emerged as the national winner and a global finalist in the 2020 Top 10 Most Competitive Component Cities in the country during the evaluation conducted by the National Competitiveness Council, Cities and Municipalities Competitiveness Index. So far, we are proud of what we have accomplished, yet we know and we admit that more needs to be done. But with the help of the national and provincial governments, of course, my husband, Congressman Marvy Marino, the city government employees, the business sector, barangay officials, and the people of Batangas City, we can achieve so much more. If there is something that we have learned, no height is too steep, no dream too big, nothing is impossible for Batangas City, the most livable and lovable city in the Philippines and the world. Thank you po. Stay healthy, stay strong, stay sane, stay safe, everyone.
Wonderful. So thank you for that recording, Mayor Beverly Di Macuja. Despite your busy schedule, we truly appreciate the efforts of Batangas City. Definitely a lot of strong points for the city in the fields of industry, natural resources, and human capital. And I'm really glad to hear about the infrastructure developments, such as the new and better roads, as well as investments in education and resilience. Also appreciate the ongoing efforts to address the COVID-19 pandemic and how the government, the local government is really demonstrating care for its residents. And of course, we congratulate Batangas City for being hailed the most lovable city by the WWF. And of course, if you're lovable, it makes it quite livable as well. So thank you for that. I would like to call back on stage for our panel, Governor Dodo Mandanas, and advance happy birthday, Gov, no? Mr. Jaime Zubel, Augusto Zubel de Ayala, Mr. Peter Maquera. Unfortunately, by the way, Mayor Eric Africa of Lipa City is unable to join us because he has to attend to important matters in the city as they're working hard to address the COVID-19 situation there. So we wish Mayor Eric well, no, today. Also joining the panel is Mr. Saturnino Belen. He's the chairman of First Asia Venture Capital, a company he founded in 1983, which is today has become an investment holding company with a portfolio of notable companies involved in a wide variety of businesses. To name a few, it includes DY Asia Publishing Group, one of the country's top 3 educational publishing companies. A Freight Asia Pacific Limited, the largest personal effects forwarder in Asia, which operates out of Hong Kong. And the Lima Park Hotel, no, a 4-star hotel in Batangas, and one of 4 hotels enjoying a 4-star rating in the entire Calabarzon region. In 1981, Bong Belen, he founded the Bato Balani Foundation, whose mission is focused on investing in the country's future through educational programs. And in his other socio-civic involvements, he has been director of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, Incorporated, and a member of the Makati Business Club. So if I can ask our admin to put our panelists back on our virtual stage, and we will kick off the panel discussion. And let me warm me off with a few questions. Thereafter, we'll take questions. We do have quite a number of questions from the audience, and if I can bring some of them to speak to ask the questions in person, we will do that. But to warm me up first, no. So let me first ask a question to Governor Dodo Mandanas. Okay. So, Governor, magandang hapon po. So, what do you think are the top 3 challenges that stand in the way of attaining the vision for Batangas province? And what can be done to mitigate these challenges? And perhaps with the representation of people from the private sector here, what do you think are the ways by which other sectors of society, private, NGOs, academia can do to help attain the vision of the province? So, Governor, on to you, sir.
Well, we have many challenges, of course, but I always consider these challenges as really challenges for us to improve. I could name several, but honestly, they go down to the basic of fighting against the pride, the greed, of our leaders. This selfishness and this not following the law. Really, those are the challenges that we face. Of course, they could be applied when it comes to all the programs that we have. So the challenges, I always say we have to meet them on a particular level. We cannot just have in generality. So really, to solve it, it has to be going down to the details. And that is really the art of the whole thing. But in the art, of course, practicing the principles that we have to be honest, do it with integrity. You have to always be competent in approaching it. And as I said, really being courageous. That's why we changed our slogan, so to speak. And this was inspired by the Ayala Group when they helped us in the Taal volcano eruption. As you have seen probably earlier, it was rich Batangas. We're very proud of our rich culture, of our rich history, but rich natural resources. But now, with all these challenges, as you were mentioning, we have just to face them with the virtue of magiting. That's why we are using, and that was inspired by Ayala Group when they helped in the volcano eruption. They gave us, 10 vehicles and a lot of other things. But most important thing is that they helped us in really awakening the virtue of magiting, which is really the exercise of the basic human virtues, but to a heroic degree. That's how probably you would. It's very difficult to translate magiting in English. It's really a very profound Tagalog word, very rich. So that is why we are now adopting it. And that is probably the way to approach it, to be magiting, to really practice the basic virtues. I mean, you cannot just to very specific challenge. That is the way to solve them.
I think you're muted,
Also,
Sweet.
Tui.
Okay.
Dewey, you're on mute.
okay, yeah, got it. Thank you. Again, back to, I'd like to call Mr. Jaime Augusto Zabal. You mentioned recently that business and investors of all sizes have a unique role to play to exponentially promote recovery. What do you think are the key roles, or better yet, actions for businesses, large and small, to make Batangas competitive, thriving, and resilient? And what are the common areas where government and business and the business sector can work together, can overlap and collaborate to help overcome the challenges mentioned by Governor Mandanas to have more magiting people?
Well, I think, thank you. Thanks for the question, Sui. I think Batangas is already a very progressive province. A lot has been happening. I think the governor was very clear in showing how many industrial links pass through Batangas, how important it is to Manila as a whole, and how it's developed its own ecosystem for industry. Batangas, and aside from that, the many social components, the schooling system and the like. It's a very rich province for growth and one that has tremendous potential. Not much more I can add, but to say that maybe the same type of thinking that's been taking place in the Ayala Group, I would encourage. In other words, there is a richness of industry, but the world is changing. Services are playing an important role. And I think the reason that Peter, Makera, and Globe are here is there is a need for all of us to enable our constituencies and our people to enter the digital economy in a new way. I think Peter did a great job in explaining the many components that can begin to happen with that digital infrastructure gets upgraded. Healthcare will change, education will change, the whole area of e-commerce, logistics are expanding and taking on a new prominence. I guess the suggestion I'd make, Sui, is that the province look at how the world is changing and add a new layer to already the rich industrial base that it has, that is in touch, I guess, with some of these new technologies. And I was following a couple of the questions as well, and there's a new concern as well about a green economy, about energy being green. Of course, we are investors in Batangas, in coal-fired plants. One of the ones in Calaca is an investment of the Ayala Group through AC Energy. But all of us, even us that have invested in fossil fuels, we are also beginning to expand. So one other thought I would leave with the province is a development of also green energy, I guess, in your portfolio in Batangas. There is change that's taking place. Sadly, right across your border of Batangas in Alaminos, we put up 120 megawatt solar plant and a 40 megawatt hour battery storage in Alaminos, just over the corner. It was a 4.5 billion peso investment, and I think about 1,500 people were employed. It's our intention, Governor, to spill over, ideally, into Batangas, to expand that operation and bring solar energy as well to your province. I think that's another trend that maybe the province should consider, because increasingly it's getting tougher to finance fossil-based energy. We're an investor ourselves. Personally, I think it is part of a cycle of change that's taking place, but it might be important for Batangas to also participate, at the very least, in developing a renewable component to its energy flows. Anyway, I'm talking a little bit. There's many others, but happy to come back into the conversation later on with some other thoughts. Thank you. Thanks, Sui, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Jaime. It's that is a theme or thread that will come back in a few of the other questions. But let me just follow on through with what you were mentioning about how perhaps a new layer of development or innovation might come in. I'd like to ask Peter. Peter, you mentioned some programs by Globe that are specifically poised to help, other cities, provinces, and in particular Batangas province. Are there any low-hanging fruits, do you think, in terms of the Globe or the Ayala portfolio that are worthwhile to explore or pilot in Batangas City?
Well, I don't know if it's low-lying in the sense that it was the impact was so tremendous and obvious, and I think we can do so much more. I think the Bayanihan law, that fast-track permitting and centralized and just the awareness that everybody has that we need to work together. I mean, on the one hand, the internet can be transformative, but it also tells you how we're all interlaced and interlaced, that we have to work together. So that was a great example, I think, if public-private, and then we increase the connectivity and give access to more people. I think maybe if I could draw a parallel, because we're very focused on LGUs. So I had the privilege of about a year ago, I was flying into Siargao, and it is such a remote place, but we were able to stream their 25th international world surfing competition. It was just on the internet, right? It didn't cost a lot of money, yet we were, we had our CEO there, and the governor was there. And as we would, so that was such an eye opener for me. And then afterwards we were having dinner, and there was all the small businesses gathered around, and you had these technopreneurs, when they realized that you could go to a beautiful place that's so remote, but have connectivity, you can stay connected, you can continue to do your work. And then you provide cell towers, and I think there was like 8 municipalities in Siargao del Norte. All of a sudden, Lolo can speak to the grandchildren in New York. The daughter can then realize their arts and crafts, whether they're doing pottery or furniture. The world, they have access to the world without leaving their home, right? And you can use things like digital wallets, like if Gcash, you can go in there and have a site, and you can do it very, very quickly. And then all of a sudden you have access to Globe's 80 million subscribers looking at your products, and they can pay digitally, and then you can have it delivered to wherever they are, whether it's next door or whether it's across the world. So it's really so transformative, and I think it's such a great example to, if you let us invest, right? If you have these programs, and actually I was struck by, just the natural resources you have, and if you can just make it easier to do business, whether it's for the telcos or the power companies or whoever it is, I think there's just so much opportunity for us, and you can really deliver on inclusive prosperity.
That's true. It's really transformative. Thank you for that, Peter. I'd like to ask Bong Belen. Welcome, sir, to our panel. Ika nga sa kasabihan, no, yung kayang-kaya basta't sama-sama. Can you please tell us a few ways by which your organization, as well as perhaps local organizations in Batangas, are supporting the vision for Batangas province?
Yes, thank you for being part of this panel. I'd like to greet Governor Dodo, advance happy birthday. I have not seen him. He normally has coffee with me at the hotel, but we have not seen each other for 1 year because the pandemic has already been with us for 1 year. But let me give you some historical background. When we first invested in Batangas 20 years ago, Governor Dodo was the governor then. And when he came back as governor now, we've actually made bigger investments in Batangas. At that time, Tanawan was the third city to become a city in Batangas. And some years ago, Santo Tomas has become a city.
Yes.
And I think there's going to be soon a fifth city, which is Calaca.
Alaka.
I think they're undergoing the usual legislative processes to become a city.
Yep.
And with the blessing of the governor, we've tried to do some place branding for Batangas because the core population center of Batangas had always been Batangas City. But then, the demographics is destiny. And in 2015, actually, Lipa City had become the most populous city in Batangas. So we're looking forward to see what the 2020 census has in store for us. We would like to data mine the 2020 census to see how the development of Batangas in terms of the demographics, and of course, where demographics will intersect infrastructure, will be where the growth will be. And in the case of place branding Batangas, of course, Batangas City has always been the core population center. But now, Lipa has overtaken Batangas City, and together with, that is 2015. I'm talking of 2015. And in the, what will now try to place brand as the Taal Lake district of Batangas, you now have three cities actually. You have Lipa, you have Tanawan, and you have Santo Tomas. And soon, again, demographics is destiny. I was talking to the governor saying that the Batangas Bay area is the core population center, followed by the Taal Lake district, and now forthcoming will be the Balayan Bay area. And I think Calaca, soon to become a city, shows that pretty soon we will have three core population centers in Batangas, which makes Batangas a very progressive place. In our case, for example, although Batangas City has been overtaken by Lipa, we ourselves, as in my retirement phase, I'm doing some concept property development. We have actually acquired some property along Kalumpang River between the City Hall and SM that we want to develop into a tourist destination where we will be putting a cable car system between City Hall across the river to the other side.
Nice.
That is, of course, may have to be pushed back because of the pandemic. In fact, as I speak, we have just postponed the launching for Holy Week of Batangas Lakelands, which is a 50-hectare leisure estate in Balete, Batangas, around the lake. And as we were having this webinar, I'm receiving messages that Taal is acting up. So let's hope it does not blow up. But some key takeaways. Governor Dodo mentioned how progressive Batangas is. And I think what we have to look out for, especially since the era is now going to be devolved to the local governments, is that there's more equitable distribution of income. If we use the incomes of the LGUs as a proxy for the equitable distribution of income in the light of lack of other data, my analysis shows that out of the 34 LGUs in Batangas, out of the 14 cities and first-class municipalities, 9 are actually in the Batangas Bay area.
Right.
And only 5 are in the Taal Lake District area. Now, if you look, that's the cities and the first-class municipalities. If you look at the 4th and 5th-class municipalities, in the 5th-class municipalities, 3 of the 5th-class municipalities are in the Taal Lake District, and only 1 is in the Batangas Bay area, and that is, of course, Tingloy. The ones in the Taal Lake Shore District is San Nicolas, Santa Teresita, and Balete. And then if you look at the 4th class LGUs, only one's in Batangas Bay area, that is San Luis. The other 4, Agoncillo, Alitagtag, Cuenca, and Mataas na Kahoy are all in the Taal Lake district of Batangas. So I think even geographically, if we talk about equitable distribution of income and inclusiveness, I think we have to craft a plan that will distribute the fruits of economic development in Batangas to a wider base and on a more equitable basis.
Yep.
across the board in Batangas. And because of the devolution of more era allocation, I think the national government will have to be substituted by the local provincial government to do this.
Right.
That's one takeaway. The other one is the Taal volcano protected landscape, which based on statistics is about 62,000 hectares and comprises about 20% of Batangas province's 300,000 hectares. That's 20% of the land area of Batangas that is being controlled by this Taal volcano protected landscape, which is being run by a board of 22 LGUs and national government agencies, and which has, for example, declared Taal Volcano Island as a no man's land. And you know what happens to no man's land, no? The tragedy of the commons will come in. So right now, actually, every time there's a problem there, you're always talking about the informal settlers who have to be evacuated. So what we're trying to do as part of our civic involvement in Batangas is try to mobilize most of the registered landowners in Taal Volcano Island. Because even some of the national government agencies, the functionaries in Manila, do not even realize that practically all of Taal Volcano Island is titled property. Titled even before the Second World War. But the owners have been emasculated, and the 20% of Batangas land area, which is 620 square kilometers, which is practically the size of Metro Manila, just to put it into context, and at the same time about the size of Singapore, is in the hands of a government agency with 22 LGUs and NGAs trying to run it. No, it's really a formula for disaster. So with the governor's blessing, we've actually tried to create an initiative to try to make the Taal Volcano Island as part of the UNESCO Geopark Network. And we've been working on this. In fact, our ambassador to France, the Philippine ambassador to France, we've invited her over here. She's concurrently the ambassador to the UNESCO. And we've taken the preliminary steps. We have now hired, not yet hired, but we're in the process of hiring an accreditor consultant so that we can take the preliminary steps to become a UNESCO recognized geopark.
That's good.
And I think with that, we can convert our vision, at least for this part of Batangas, is to convert Taal Volcano Island into a private-public partnership. Right now, it's really just being run by all of these government agencies since 1996. And nothing has really happened in terms of any development plan for the Taal Volcano protected
Mr. Belen,
land. Yes.
we have a question actually from a few notable architects in our audience.
Okay.
We'd like to call them on because we're talking about inclusive and sustainable development in terms of the use of land and resources. It's like if we can bring in the architect Dinky von Eisendel, and also I think we have Paulo Alcazaren in the audience. Can we have some questions that are related to green development, and again taking up the thread that we left off with si Jaime earlier on. So can we bring in here's Sir Dinky. Hello, Sir Dinky. Good afternoon. Would you like to? I see you have a couple of questions down here, and thank you, Mr. Belen. He started to touch on some green development topics. Would you like to ask a question to the panel?
Yeah, well, I was very impressed with the comments that were made by all the panelists, and also eye opener from Mr. Belen about
Yes.
what's happening in the Taal protected area. And you know, one of the things that I had initially started to discuss with Governor Dodo a few months back after the Taal eruption was the possibility of the province adopting a concept of green growth. Because, you know, what has been kind of alarming to me is that the attractiveness of Batangas, the competitiveness of Batangas, and it's reflected in what's going on and all of the investments that are coming in, is scary in the sense that there seems to be a very rapid growth that's happening. And I'm not sure whether the proper environmental protection measures are in place. And so one of the things that I actually wanted to throw to Mr. Makera is maybe how can Batangas province and Globe establish some kind of an integrated development information management system. Mr. Belen mentioned a few statistical information, which I think is very impressive, very important. But I was wondering whether we could institutionalize such an information management system at the provincial level and probably also reflected at the local government level, at the individual cities and municipalities for their own planning and management purposes as well. So I know this is kind of a very broad question that's thrown to a lot of people, but I see the opportunity here of partnerships between the provincial government, the municipal governments, and also the private sector organizations that are present at this webinar. Thank you.
Peter, would you like to respond to that
Sorry.
idea?
I was waiting for you to MC.
Yes.
Dinky, thank you for calling that out. You know, I don't know specifically around LGUs, but certainly what we've been focused on, especially with situations like Taal volcano, earthquakes, the typhoons. I think we get like, what, 23 typhoons a year that come through the Philippines. So the command center, you know, having a command center interconnecting the different municipalities, sharing the information, having intelligent cameras, having that central repository, and having real-time alerts and sharing of information. That's one use case that I think maybe is aligned with what you're saying. With respect to the administration itself, you know, there's we haven't looked, but maybe that's something that we ought to look into. I imagine there is, and that those are the things that I think what's amazing nowadays is you have a lot of, let's call it asset light types of opportunities, and they're a lot of times off the shelf with minimal configuration. So I haven't looked at that specifically, but I imagine there is, and maybe that's a to-do list for me. But thank you for calling that out.
Thank you, Peter. I'd like to bring in the question, the most voted question actually on our Q&A is from architect Paulo Alcazar, and he asks, I don't know if we can get him on the screen, but let me read it out for you. Does Batangas province or its cities have a sustainable program for social and affordable housing that supports urban expansion of existing cities without compromising peri-urban areas' ability to produce food, especially since Batangas has a very, you know, lively agricultural sector? So, Governor, perhaps you can answer that
question.
Thank
you very much.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Architect Alcazar po yan.
Thank you very much. Well, housing was something that I wasn't able to mention because of the time constraint earlier. But we already have now an agreement with Pag-ibig, and we have 1,000 units that is scheduled for this year. We already have the land, and this would be available. And this is still going to be increased because this is the program of the province. But we still have the program of the different municipalities. also with Pag-ibig. And fortunately, Pag-ibig concerns now is not only housing. They have extended even to education. So they have this long-term loan, this study now, pay later program, which will be extended. So this is part of the social concern that we have right now, which we are implementing right now. We have in Batangas City, we have a government property, which we have already determined, okay, very accessible. And then also in the western part, which was mentioned, really needs development. We have 1,000 now ready, already part of that particular program. This is something that we should have done before, and but now we are moving towards it. We even made a little bit of twist that for the meantime, we will do it. It will first be the province that would do it. For the province, they will be like isolation units for COVID. And once it's over, then the ones who would occupy them would go in there, and they don't have to pay any down payment or anything like that to make it easy for them. So there's already approved with the Pag-ibig program, with the home mortgage,
Okay, sir.
and the housing, combined with even with education of the children. And we give priority to, of course, right now to the frontliners involved. And this is separate from the program that we have with NHA, National Housing, and with the Social Finance Corporation, brought about by the explosion or the eruption of the Taal volcano.
Yep.
The National Housing provided us with over 500 units to start with. And to the president, because of the eruption of the Taal volcano, also gave us for the evacuees, even up to Cavite and up to Laguna. These are houses constructed but not occupied, but developed by National Housing Corporation.
In Batangas, sir.
Yes, and then with the Social Housing Finance Corporation, also adjunct to the Human Settlements Development, the new department right now, which they call. We have also where architect Dinky Einsidal, I think, is still involved. We're still involved with him in developing government property in Laia, San Juan, for the evacuees who around Taon Lake were involved in the tourism. You know, that they will be moving to Laia, San Juan, which is close to Laia, which is a tourist destination. So they will have more clients. So it's tied up with, we just do not want to move evacuees just to give them houses. I think, and we believe that the livelihood component has to be there.
Yes, correct.
It has to be there. Otherwise, it's not going to be successful. So that is where Dinky and I have been working since, I don't know, 40 years ago, Dinky. So that's why it's just all these programs have just been suspended because of this COVID thing. So it's there. So those evacuees of the Taal volcano. And we are addressing, as a matter of fact, the concern also housing for these evacuees. But we are really, I've been talking with Bong about this protected area management board. This is a national government agency, which since 2018, okay, like 2.5 years ago, the latter part of 2018, the control and management including taxation, including security. That area of 20% of the province of Batangas have been really legally transferred from the province of Batangas to the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. That was by law. Of course, this happened in 2018. But as was pointed out, and it was obvious to everyone, when Taal volcano erupted last January 2020, last year, which was like a year and a half since that PAMBI, that Protective Area Management, took over the Department of, nobody saw them around, neither in the preparation, nor during the event, or even after the event. They are more concerned, but under that law, you know, you couldn't even construct a fence within this 62,000 hectares, which included 14 LGUs, 14 around Taal Lake. So this is an example, again, of a law which, as Bong has mentioned, could be an invitation to more trouble. But if the national government, specifically the one assigned by law, is the Department of, the boss is really the Secretary of the Department of Environment. If they would do their job as really enumerated in the law, then we would not have this problem. They're the ones who, for example, give permits to those who are putting up fish pens, using motorized vehicle. Even, for example, the Pansipit River, which is the lifeline of Taal Lake. During the volcano eruption, it has to be really dredged. And it shouldn't be dredged because it became shallow. And we had to stop because we had to wait for us to get permission. This is the province.
Oh, no.
We couldn't put up an evacuation center, for example, without their permission.
Okay.
So, but of course, to put up evacuation center in the first place is part of the responsibility. But we were able to get the permission, incidentally. So these are, well, specific challenges that we in local government are facing. This is the relationship with the national government. The national government helps us when the occasion arises, but there are existing laws that it should be sustainable. I mean, it should be planned. The Department of Environment and Natural, a national office, has taken to itself to be responsible for the management, protection of this so-called nationally integrated protected area. So this is an example of a challenge, to be very specific.
Yes, correct, sir.
And this is what I was mentioned. In general, it's a matter of the pride and the ignorance, or probably the lack of I don't know whether it's interest or knowledge.
But it's a good example to
situation.
persevere, and
It's very difficult to ask what are the challenges, but it has to be specific.
yes.
You want mentioned, for example, by JASA. Just for example, well, in Batangas, with regard to solar, okay, in the town where the family of JASA still has residences and has projects and relatives, and they are there, staying there in Calatagan. We have now there existing 100 megawatts of solar power. Okay, right now it's still producing only 60, but it is programmed for 100. And the developer is still looking for areas in that area.
Mhm.
When it comes to solar.
Yeah.
And there are others who are still, because my policy in the province is that if the private sector can do it, we will just help them. We will have, and just for information, an example of help with regard to the real property tax of that project, we gave them an 80% discount.
Wow.
Because it is solar. That is how much we
That's good.
support the green energy program.
Mhm.
Because real property tax is a provincial imposition. It's a local government imposition. And so there we have control. So we gave them 80% discount because they were the first ones who put up. And I guess the next ones who would put up, we will also give.
Mm.
Really, we want to attract. Because as we said, out of our 5,300, we are attracting also those who will use natural gas.
Good.
Because it is the less, harmful to the environment.
Yes.
Our coal concentrated in Calaca. There we have around 1,350 different companies. And as I said, we are encouraging also geothermal.
Mm.
Right now, there are drillings in Mabini, in the town
good
of
to hear.
Mabini, for geothermal.
That's good to
So
hear.
we are addressing, these are, I consider them also social problems or social concerns, not really social concerns. Environment.
That's really good to
very
hear
important.
too. There's a headway in the greener energy sector, Governor.
Yes.
Hopefully, a larger portion of the 5,300 megawatts will start to turn green and greener. Thank you.
And the tourism is something that we really promote because again, it's good for the environment. I mean, in terms of, and good for livelihood also. Except for the present situation right now, we have to be, resilient to adapt. But Batangas is number 2 in terms of number of tourists. Not only on resorts, but even religious tourism. All our Taal Basilica, the oldest and the biggest. We have Monte Maria over there. We have also the Padre Pio National Shrine in Santo Tomas, Batangas. So that's why we are number 2 only to Cebu.
Yeah.
Cebu, of course, is high because it's really the crossroad in the south. But in terms of number of tourists, we have more than, of course, Boracay. And right now we have been planning to develop Matabungkay. Matabungkay was the Boracay, let's say 20 years ago. And the same thing with Calatagan.
Yeah.
The throw over there, like Punta Puego or so all these areas, Tali Beach. So, and of course, around Taal Lake, as Bong Bilen has mentioned.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
these
sir.
are like the green
Part of the
areas.
green and the ecotourism development programs. Wonderful, sir. We are actually, sorry, we've run out of time. There's still so many questions in the pipeline. But if you don't mind, we'll probably send these questions, write them up and send it over to you and to the other panelists to answer so that we can get back to them. We do have the emails of these people who have joined the webinar. And I thank you, everyone, our esteemed panelists, for your valuable insights. And also inspiring words, no? Like ika nga ni Governor, pagiging magiting is a very good key to unlock many challenges. Before we conclude the panel, I'd like to ask you to please have a look into your webcam so that and smile, so that we can have. Oops, where's the Governor? So that we can have. Okay, he's back. Okay, we're gonna ask our staff in the background to snap a photo. Let's look at our cameras and smile. Okay, I hope they got a photo. Paolo Alcazaran just joined us. Hi, Architect Paolo. How are you? Can you unmute and just say hi? Maybe may gusto ko bang pahabol? Are you able to unmute?
Yes, nice to join you. I was
Hi,
actually
Paolo.
muted the whole time, but
Oh,
very
sorry.
interesting conversation.
Yeah, we're run out of time, but baka you can slip in a quick one.
I think everybody's good. Thank you very
Good.
much.
Thank you for asking your questions, and I hope the governor and the panel were able to answer that. And now like I said, very lively discussion. We've overrun quite a bit. And now it's time to bring back si Bill. Oh, Bill is on screen to give us the concluding remarks. Thank you for joining us in the panel.
Thank you, Sui. First of all, I'd like to thank Governor Mandanas not only for the very extensive presentation on Batangas, but also for your participation, Governor, in the panel discussion, answering so many questions. I'd like to also thank Jaime, Peter, and Bong for joining us in this panel discussion. Peter, great presentation on what Globe is doing for Batangas, and Bong, thanks for the very incisive questions and comments about how you see it as an outside investor, and Jaime, of course, for your support in talking about Ayala's footprint within Batangas across the group. So I'd like to thank all of you and thank the audience as well. One of the areas that the governor mentioned was want to protect. And so I'd like to just take this opportunity to announce that, the governor has been extremely helpful and such a good partner with Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, PDRF, of which Jaime is actually the co-chair, and I'm one of the advisors. And I just want to show a picture of the evacuation center that we will be building starting in April. It'll take 4 months construction. So this is the one we have in Tacloban that we built after Super Typhoon Yolanda. But we were able to put this together for Barangay Malainin in Ibaan, which we worked on with the governor and PDRF, and funded by BPI together with the Office of the Governor, and to be constructed by MDC and partners. And this is something of a response, a permanent evacuation center that we're building to protect people against Taal, which is right now on level 2. So just something I wanted to bring up as our contribution of PDRF and Ayala Group to the province of Batangas. I'd like to also just inform the audience as you exit, please fill out the feedback forms, and if you're on Facebook, take a photograph of the QR code, and you'll see you'll receive the feedback form, and we'd appreciate your feedback. I'd like to, there it is, the QR code. I'd like to also just announce March 30th, our next regular lab returns, and it's going to be vaccine-ready cities. The road to 500,000 daily vaccinations nationwide. We're putting this together with the Boston Consulting Group, whom we work with very closely on the National Vaccine Program. So this is a very important one for all the cities, and we'd like to get a lot of cities and provinces to participate in this. And finally, I'd just like to close today's session with a birthday greeting for the governor. I know it's one day in advance, but happy birthday, Governor.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Oops. Do we have the governor's birthday cake?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you.
So thank you, everybody, and thank you, Governor, for spending an afternoon with us, and an advance happy birthday to you. So thank you very much, everybody.
magliwaliw at lumarga. Buti na lang taga dito ka. Singdami ng happening, ang dami ng isla. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Sobrang swerte kaya ng tsinelas mo. Nakatapak ka sa paraiso. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Mula Apari hanggang Hulo, iba ang saya ng Pilipino. It's more fun in the Philippines. Nandito ng lahat, saan pa pupunta? Malalim ang dagat at mababaw ang ligaya. Halatang Pilipino ka, abot langit ang iyong ngiti. Lahi ng masasaya. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Sobrang swerte kaya ng tsinelas mo. Nakatapak ka sa paraiso. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Mula Apari hanggang Hulo, iba ang saya ng Pilipino. It's more fun in the Philippines.
Shopping, driving, waiting, jogging, resting. It's more fun. Crossword, backward, history, biology, geometry, chemistry. It's more fun.
Singdami ng happening, ang dami ng isla. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Sobrang swerte kaya ng tsinelas mo. Nakatapak ka sa paraiso. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Mula Apari hanggang Hulo, iba ang saya ng Pilipino. It's more fun in the Philippines. Nandito ng lahat, saan pa pupunta? Malalim ang dagat at mababaw ang ligaya. Halatang Pilipino ka, abot langit ang iyong ngiti. Lahi ng masasaya. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Sobrang swerte kaya ng tsinelas mo. Nakatapak ka sa paraiso. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit malalayo? Mula Apari hanggang Hulo, iba ang saya ng Pilipino. It's more fun in the Philippines.
Shopping, driving, waiting, jogging, resting. It's more fun. Crossword, backward, history, biology, geometry, chemistry. It's more fun.
Singdami ng happening, ang dami ng isla. It's more fun in the